I'm so glad we could be here together at the height of summer. It's an important time to find ways to slow down our nervous system and get into that rest and digest parasympathetic nervous system. So we're going to start off on our back bodies, and we're going to do a little kind of hack for the vagus nerve to help it settle in. You're going to take your hands behind your back, behind your head, excuse me, with your fingers interlaced, nice and tight like so. And you're going to place your hands so that the palms are deeply connected to the skull, and your knuckles are then connecting with the yoga mat. If for any reason this bothers your shoulder, try and adjust the angle, do your best to find ease. This is just essentially a 1-minute exercise. You're going to open your eyes towards the ceiling, the sky, if you happen to be outside, and you're simply going to take your eyes to the right, and you're going to hold there for about 30 seconds. We're holding until we have the experience of either yawning, swallowing, or sighing. And this sigh is a bit different than the one, in fact, that we'll be doing in a little bit, that's very intentional. This is that more kind of automatic, little kind of sipping in of breath, and then animals do it a lot. And now, if you've not had that response yet and you want to hold a while longer to see if it will come, you certainly do. Otherwise, you'll take your eyes back to center and then slowly take the eyes to the left. Just allowing your body to settle into breath. It's the most important thing we'll be doing here in our yoga practice, tuning into the body and cultivating yoga breath. And noticing if the body just naturally moves towards a swallow, a yawn, or a sigh. If it doesn't, don't feel that you need to force it. And you're also welcome to hold a little longer. If you've had that experience, turning the eyes to center, you might just close in the moment. And then releasing the hands, rolling the wrists, reaching up and back behind you towards the wall. And this can be a marvelous place to point and flex through the hand, which is wonderful at working that nerve line all the way through the wrist and into the armpits and shoulders. You might roll it out, maybe ankles as well. And then just releasing into a comfortable shape, perhaps corpse pose on your back, where we'll come into a few sighing breaths. Inhaling slow, deep and wide through the nose. Asking, is there more? And releasing softly through the mouth. Slow, deep and wide breaths, as if there was never anything else. For these moments on your yoga mat, you are hitting pause on whatever else might be going on in life. Here, there's nothing to accomplish. There's no schedule. Nobody needs anything from you. And I find it so interesting that sighing itself helps calm the amygdala, the alarm center of the brain. But also, when we sigh, it actually can help other people's nervous system calm and unwind. Isn't that incredible? Love it. We're going to now tune into our points of introversion, crossing the eyes up and in as if gazing behind the center of the forehead. Lightly connecting the tip of the tongue at the roof of the mouth while inviting the rest of the tongue and throat area to remain soft. And lastly, inviting you to add ujjayi, great sounding breath. And we create this by just gently contacting the throat, like you're going to clear it or you were going to fog a mirror, but the mouth is closed. And Ujjayi is very useful at helping with introversion and also steadying the breath. It helps prolong our breath. It helps maintain mental focus with the breath in this moment. They've actually studied that it's helpful for athletes as well, that it improves your VO2 max, so your body's use of oxygen. I like that it helps me notice, when am I in the active part of the breath, the inhale, the exhale? And when am I in that beautiful moment of pause? And those are my favorite moments in orchestral pieces and other kinds of music too. See if you can float in those pauses for the next few breaths. Asking of each inhale and exhale, is there more? Until there isn't. Continuing with breath attention, begin to rotate the head all the way to the right, all the way to the left. And it's not about where we get to, it's about what we feel and can notice along the way. Maybe some crunching in there. Maybe one direction is much more comfortable than the other. What's your range of motion like? Do you feel any connections further down into the kind of upper back between the shoulder blades and spine? And then as you are ready, I'm going to have you rotate your face to the right and sweep your left arm up and see how far to the right you can get that hand. So we're stretching and elongating that left side, letting the head move with, and you might decide to reach firmly through your left foot, getting a nice long line. And then slowly neutraling it, rotating face to the left, reaching up through the right arm, coming over through center. Is this side different? Deep breath. This is lovely. It gets into our intercostals and some of those soft tissues that really affect the shoulder joint. We'll be doing a little tractioning fascia release later. And slowly release. And then please inhale, reach your chin as far back away from your throat as you can. And then bring your chin in towards your throat. Your head stays on the floor and you're actively reaching through the kind of crown of the head. Do that a few more times. Notice when you're inhaling and reaching as firmly as you can through your chin, you might experience some pretty significant stretch through the tissues in the front of the throat and neck. And as you complete that next exhale, just return your head to what feels like neutral, and we'll do lion stretch. If you'd like to add arms, it's inhaling, reaching, sweeping overhead towards the wall behind you. Exhaling, you might make lion claws as you bring your elbows in and open the jaw wide. Yeah, you guys sound great. Couple more times. Now, if you can, notice some of the activity right here at that base of the skull. When you open that jaw wide, you're activating those muscles by the occipital ridge, the I've gotta or doer muscles, as I call them. You can even stick the tongue out or draw it back and down like there's a tongue depressor. Marvelous. Let's bring the right knee into the belly, release wind pose. Heels are flexed. If for any reason you have a hard time reaching your knee, remember you can kind of loop a strap or something around it, because I would love to have your shoulder blades activated down the back. Neck is soft and free to rotate a little bit here and there. Keep reaching through that left heel and see if you can power down through your left quadricep. And now I'm going to bring my right knee as high as I can and a little to the outside and then back towards center. If you feel any pull or discomfort into your left low back, Notice, but also minimize the movement. So taking your knee to the left, but without releasing your back body at all. So we're not doing spinal twist, just take it as far towards the center line as you can and rotate your head as far right as you can. And then just the right hand taking the knee out to the right, keeping powerfully anchored through the left side of the body. Left arm might go out into a T-pose to assist. So I've got my right knee as high towards my right armpit as I can. And I'm going to rotate my head all the way left. Then back to center. I'm going to bring my right hand around behind the right knee. Yours might be up by the thigh or the calf, whatever. And see if you can straighten that right leg into your waiting hand. I've actually kind of got my elbow propped on the floor to support. And I'm going to point and flex both feet, roll both ankles. And if your right leg isn't straight, try bending it a little bit again and then pushing through that heel. See if you can powerfully ignite those quadriceps at the front of the thigh. Yeah, and releasing, returning to your corpse pose. Inhale, slow, deep and wide. Exhale, empty the breath, hold out for abdominal pumping. Draw the belly in. And then press it towards the sky. We're going to do that alternatingly until we need to breathe. It's a wonderful place to take a sigh breath. We hold so much tension at our gut level. You guys sound so good. Bring that left knee into belly. Shoulders anchoring, elbows in, no neck tension. Flexing so firmly through the right heel and down through the right thigh bone that your heel might kind of pop up off the floor. Now we're going to just make a little journey right and left with the knee, just a little in and out of center, noticing what's there. And then we'll bring the knee as close towards the center line as we can and rotate the head left. Always applying breath to the shape. The breath is our change agent. And then taking the knee into the left hand only, right arm extends out. Remember, keeping flexed through that, through both heels actually. And then rotating face to the right. Keeping anchored through the right side of the body. You might neutral the head and then begin to extend the left leg into your left hand, pointing, flexing. Sometimes I'll add the wrist, the free wrist into this. You know, when we move our feet and hands in this way, it's really manipulating and stretching all the way up into the knees and elbows. It's fabulous. So good for us. Again, you might kind of bend the knee and try to re-straighten through the heel. And then bring it back in, release into your corpse pose. Abdominal pumping, inhaling, slow, deep and wide. I hope you get a nice big Buddha belly. Empty, hold out, and pumping. If you really draw in and then you think about drawing up, you have the opportunity to actually create massage up into the diaphragm. And the diaphragm is one of those areas that gets affected when we are in fight or flight, low grade, perpetual stress. Our breathing gets discombobulated, and often that diaphragm is part of that. So see if you can love it up. Let's do one more round. That is complete. We'll bring the feet in under the knees, work the upper arms in towards us for bridge pose. Engaging in a long inhale as if you really had no intention of going anywhere. On the exhale, belly to spine, spine to floor, and then the pelvis comes up into bridge. Imagine there's a block between the thighs. On the inhale, descending slowly. We're going to do this a few times. Slowly, slowly letting breath initiate motion. So really enjoy the fullness of inhale before exhaling and rising again. And I have a experience at least probably 1 every 3 times I do this, where somewhere in that kind of cervical spine, upper back, as I'm descending slowly, I'll often get kind of a clunk. And so it's my sense that this work here helps create some decompression in the spinal column. Yay for that. It's like you get yoga, massage, chiropractic, all at the same time. Get to be in this beautiful body of yours, this amazing vessel that you're in, noticing detail, listening to its messages. We're going to then cross the right ankle onto the left thigh for reclined pigeon, raising the left foot if you can. If you can't, leave it on the floor. Hugging the right knee as tightly to the right chest as you can before sending it a little towards the center line. And it doesn't take much. This is not a huge spinal twist movement. And people will feel this different places. I often feel it right along the IT band area that runs from the knee up to the hip. I definitely get it into kind of the piriformis in that upper butt glute area. You might feel it in your inner thigh as well. Notice if you've been just kind of breathing shallowly, no problem. Let's deepen it. Send a big breath wave in there. Notice how it rearranges your material. And then to switch, I recommend returning the floor foot. It's just safer for your joints and back and summer. And then we will cross the left ankle onto the right thigh. Both heels are flexed to stabilize the knee. Right leg raises if it's comfortable to do so. Hugging left knee. And wow, notice differences. For me, before even moving towards the center line, I've got a huge stretch that I didn't have on the other side. And so if you're having anything like that, you might ask yourself, what is that about? What have I been doing? You know, do you cross your legs when you sit? That's a no-no, by the way, for the hips and low back. But if you do it, at least make sure you switch back and forth. And deep breath, and you don't have to hold at one specific spot. Maybe you're going to pulse out of that edge and then back towards intensity. Hello, meeting it with breath. Staying here as long as you need to feel the evolution that's possible. Then returning the floor foot, uncrossing. We're going to return to our bridge pose for foot hover or leg extension. I'm going to spend the first few moments just to kind of counter pose what we did, just kind of pulsing my hips at that upper end of bridge. So I'm dropping my butt down a little bit, then reinvigorating while I squeeze that imaginary block. And then before lifting a foot off the floor, I'm going to make sure my feet feel like they're close enough so that I can pretty successfully lift one foot just an inch or so without having the hip drop. And then the other, slowly back and forth. Noticing what's going on in there. If you want to do leg extension, make sure that you are flexing through the foot, that the thighs are staying the same height. When we're done, we are going to slowly descend. And here comes happy baby. It should feel so good after that. You're going to clasp either the big toes, the blades of the feet, the ankles, or perhaps put a strap across the arches, which is wonderful. It can give us a wonderful, powerful downward pressure. We would like to have our knees as close to the floor as they'll get, mainly because that brings us to our edge. Our shoulders anchored down. And sometimes while I'm here, I feel inspired to roll my head side to side. See what you think. And then at some point, you might be inspired and have straddle, extending one leg and then the other. So kind of like we did before, just a little different. You can also do this with one foot on the floor if that works better for your back. So instead of having to hold the bent knee, you can replace one foot to the floor and then extend. And then bringing them back both in, well, you know what I mean. Bring the soles of the feet together in butterfly and allow the knees to settle towards the floor. I'm also inviting my shoulder blades to wing in and my palms to rotate open. So it's a beautiful kind of restorative butterfly and jet airplane combo. Nice breath wave rising and settling. Just tracing it with your mind's eye. If you'd like to add a strengthening element with me, raising the hips just an inch or two off the floor for about a minute. And if that's too much, of course, you'll simply come down. What do you notice? I'm hoping you're noticing really good work in the inner thigh groin area, that kind of deep glute. These are areas that most of us modern humans are historically pretty weak. I'm hoping there's no neck tension. There doesn't need to be. We should be able to relax there. About 10, 15 more seconds or so. Tuning into breath wave, rising and settling, finding the gap. And notice what you would like to come out of this. It may be initially you do just want to let the knees settle back towards the floor. Perhaps you then want to extend the legs in corpse pose, movements, check in, do what you need to do. We're going to come on to hands and knees, and we're going to do a little cow cat and then some shoulder traction. So if being on your knees does not work, I really love standing cow cat. It's just marvelous, and it's just the same principle. So when you're ready, either on hands or knees. Yeah, and if you're having an issue with wrists, you could still do hands and knees, but be on fists instead of palms. That can make a big difference, right? Reaching forward through the heart sternum and rounding deeply in cat. So inhaling cow, tailbone goes back, heart draws forward and up. Exhaling, tucking tailbone, back rounds in cat. You really want to spread the shoulder blades away from the spine. One more like that. And actually, you know what? Let's just go into downward facing dog a moment to wake up those shoulders. Again, you could do that on hands. There's also kind of a wonderful wall version, just having the feet back far enough that you can send your chest a little towards the wall, knees a little bit bent, and get some nice chest and shoulder opening. Breathing, noticing. If you're in downward facing dog, you've got the chance to pedal it out a little bit, pressing one heel towards the floor and then the other. And then we'll return to our hands and knees, where I'm going to show you the shoulder tractioning. And I'll also then show a wall version for folks where knees are not happy being pressed into the earth. So in this pose, what we're essentially doing is taking our forearm to the floor or eventually the wall, and you're tractioning, in this case, powering down into the floor and drawing back towards your body. You're not moving the forearm, you're just pressing and pulling, if that makes sense. With that tractioning in place, inhale, and then exhale, send your hips towards the heels. And then when that's complete, you'll inhale and come back to that starting position. And we'll do a half a dozen or so on that side. Try to keep your core connected. We don't want to be hanging. If you're not getting enough sensation or you're not getting any at all, try moving your elbow a little further away from your knee. Yeah, so Lisa, I would create a little more forward distance. You got it. And like I said, there is a wall version where essentially one could do the same thing, take an athletic stance, have the forearm on the wall, kind of up above the head, power into the wall and down, take a big inhale and exhale. Because this is one you could do, you know, in an airport or a hotel room or somewhere you maybe don't want to get on the floor. Is there anybody not? Everybody's got something. Ish. We're mainly, most of us will get stretches through this kind of armpit area, which actually is the shoulder joint. All the stuff in here and down here is what holds our joint in place. You might also feel it in deltoid. I even feel it sometimes all the way down my rib cage towards my hip connection. You too. Yeah. Yeah, so if you're not, good point, if you're not getting much, if you move your arm towards the center line, or I have one person here who's quite flexible, is moving it quite across, I just don't want you to feel any impingement in the pectoral area. But yeah, it looks like a couple of you found that kind of bringing it towards the center makes the difference. Again, breathing makes the difference, and we'll switch, but I'll tell you something I forgot to, which is one of my favorite things is once I'm in the butt back position, is to hold and take a full breath there, because the inhale will stretch and massage us from the inside the way nothing else can. Yeah, let me know if you've got any questions at all. Good, guys, good. This is, to me, such a great example of what I talk about, the silent partner principle. That most people, like when I'm doing body work, two people talk about this, that if they try to reach their arm overhead, the discomfort happens right here in kind of the deltoid shoulder area, but it's usually because of this pulling. So it's not that there's an actual injury point here, it's just that it's being stressed by overabundance of tension below the joint. We want to liberate that puppy. Beautiful. Speaking of puppy, when you're done, we're going to do a little half puppy. So you might, if you want to circle your arms and do anything, go for it. Otherwise, right here, lower your chest towards the floor, reach one arm forward, hand active, and slowly lower your forehead towards the floor if you can. If it's too far to the floor, move your butt back a little bit. That will make the angle less intense. And again, we can adjust intensity when we're doing this on the wall as well. Again, I always like bent knees and feet a little bit wide. Breathing, noticing, always letting the breath pulse you. You want to be like an instrument that the breath can play upon. After years of being an athlete in high school and college and stuff like that, and stretching and not having any of my tension change, yoga was so transformative. I think it's because we hold stretches and we're breathing into them, among other things. We also do some resistance stretching. Use a nice tuck of the tailbone to return to your tabletop or the standing version, hands on knees. And we're going to return to downward facing dog. So please make sure the shoulder heads are down the back. Nice core support, nice kind of cat back, curl the feet under. Knees are bent as we push into the earth, and then raise the hips up and back. And then please just wag your hips a little side to side. And we'll pedal, pressing one heel towards the floor and the other. And I'm going to offer a little spinal pumping. That could be cow cat, it could be standing cow cat. Or you could join me here in upward facing dog, downward facing dog. You can even do a knee down version if you want. As you draw the heart forward, you would just let the knees dip instead of simply the hips. Exhale and press back downward facing dog. And we'll do two more like that. Breath, initiating motion, neck is liberated. Ujjayi. Walking the hands back towards the feet into your ragdoll, knees deeply bent. As you let your body receive the drape of gravity, letting the head go as you can, inviting this whole spinal column to decompress. You might decide to wag the head a little gently, yes or no. To rise, I ask you to think about doing it in a couple of movements. The first movement is to actually drop the butt into chair. So you're in a nice straight spine. As you press up then, it's beautiful because it's all good work in the glute and thigh area. Nothing stressful on the hands or the back. So we're going to go sideways on our mat and we're going to be working into our straddle. I recommend that direction. And I usually talk about straddle and feet parallel, but I want to mention that, you know, having the toes turned even slightly outward from exactly parallel might feel more natural. We're interested in whatever makes your knees and ankles happy, all right? So as you're ready, start going side to side without releasing any part of the foot. Keep a nice tree frog stuck to the floor kind of situation. Good. If your knee is starting to come beyond the ankle, notice and make your stance wider. And the next time you've gone to the right, hold and reach forward through that left arm. So like if straight in front of your chest is noon, reach a little like to 1. Then go ahead and reach back through your right arm, counter reach. It's like you're making the longest line you can through those two objects, your hands. Switch, send your hips to the left, reach to say 11 o'clock with your arm. Did I say 11 on the other side? It would have been 1. Anyway, you know how a clock works. Counter reach with your other arm. Breathe, and we'll switch. And I'm going to just ask you to make these movements a few times, very much focusing on getting karate chop straight, with particularly the back arm, is going to give you that tricep light up. And we need those triceps to be strong. They're part of what balances us out, but we don't really use them much. So if I see some people reaching to like 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock. I want you at 11 and 1. 11 and 1, folks. Yeah, that was like 10. There you go. 11 and 1. This is why, by the way, I started you off street right in front of you, because then it's just a little movement, just a little baby movement. Why do I care? Because it's torque on your knees and hips and on your back to go further. All right, let's take it down to the floor if you can. You could also use a chair, a bench, a block to bring the floor up to you if getting all the way down there is not comfortable. And we're going to go side to side here. So you can be kind of walking your hands side to side. I have benches on my dining room table at the sides, and I often in the morning will kind of do this as I'm waking up before I even get to my mat. The whole world is a yoga prop. Trees, you name it. Holding to one side. We're going to hang out there for anywhere from 3 to 6 breaths, tuning in. See if you can fold your torso kind of towards the floor. You're not trying to go past the leg. So make sure your hands are not out beyond the leg. I actually have my hands to the inside of each foot, and I'm kind of folding my head towards the hands, hoping that's helping from an angle standpoint. Again, it's about not torquing the joints. We're coming slowly back to center, knees bent, letting the head hang. Big inhale, exhale, see if you can raise the hips towards the sky. We don't care if you actually ever get the legs straight, but you're enjoying the massage, I hope. Inhaling, drop the hips, raise the head, so it's a little bit like cow pose. Exhale, round the back, cat back, try to straighten the legs, maybe even straighten the arms. Do a couple more like that. Inhaling cow pose in your squat. Exhaling cat pose in your squat. And then I'll invite those of you who like yoga mudra in this forward fold position to just walk your feet in a little bit so you're not like in a full straddle, but more of a squat dimension before intertwining the hands. If you don't like that version, come up, maybe grab a strap. We want to have the hands able to press far enough away that the elbow clicks in straight. And if that can't happen, we just add a strap or a sock or something that gives us a little more space. Breathe, notice. It's coming slowly, slowly out. Oh. Come on, up. And just give yourself some nice organic movements. Shoulders, kind of chance to reorganize, if you will. We're going to be doing chain tracks today. So I've been thinking a lot about, again, what creates torque in our body and what helps us refine to neutral. And I feel like train tracks are one of those tools that can take us towards neutral and learn a little more about what might be pulling on our system. So we want our feet, like 6 inches apart. Anything less than that, you end up feeling a little like you're on a balance beam. I'm going to have my hands on my hips just for kind of steadiness and awareness. You step back with your right foot, and I'm just stepping back like 1.5 to 2 feet. And then the intention is that I'm laying my right foot down in the train track straight. I'm going to check and see how that went by looking under me. And then I'm going to move my heels so it actually is in the track. It's straighter than you think. Your foot is probably less straight than you think. So moving it is getting it straighter than you think you can or need to. That was a lot of words. And then as you straighten up, I want you to notice if you're feeling anything. You might be feeling kind of a pull around the hip or maybe a stretch in the calf. If you're feeling nothing, try to scoot your front foot a little bit forward. Conversely, if you can't get your heel flat on the floor, you have to shorten your stance. And I'm inviting you to just breathe here and be observant. One of the things we'll want to observe is that front foot. Is the ankle clicking out to the outside? Are you losing contact with the ball of the big toe? If so, think about squeezing those inner thighs. One more big inhale, take those arms up. And then exhale, a nice knee bend as you return back to your mountain. If that right leg feels a little rubbery and funny, then you found a good edge. Let's send that left foot back. If you're not getting that, again, it may mean that once you've got your heel absolutely straight back, and I mean straight, that you need to deepen your stance by scooching the front foot. So if you're not getting any kind of stretch, do that. And then notice if this side is different. I mean, maybe the foot visually was very different, but also feels different. When I first started this, I don't know, 5 years ago or something, I had very intense stretching in my calf, but completely different location from the 2 sides. One, it was way out to the side, and the other one, it was way right in the belly of the calf muscle. And so again, it teaches us a lot about what these tension patterns are that our body has developed. This looks good. Nice straight legs. As you inhale, reach up through those arms. Think about pushing down through that back heel. And then return. Feel free to shake them out like a big horse or mule kicking something. So I'm going to bring us into a little bit of warrior flow, and I invite you to make this really delicious. Again, returning to kind of our concept at the beginning of practice in that nervous system piece. The warrior, the Virabhadrasana, is the spiritual warrior. So it's all about finding grounding and strength, but not any striving, right? It's not like, I'm a warrior, right? So scan your body every time. If you're not feeling absolutely liberated in the neck, easeful in the shoulders, and make a change. Let's find 3 steady breaths here in mountain. You might have prayer hands, might be in jet airplane, whatever you like. Breath wave rising, settling, witnessing the pause. Opening the eyes in a drishti gaze, that soft focus. Inhaling, sweeping slowly out and up. Hello, shoulders. Exhaling, prayer hands, lifting the left knee, standing crane. Nice soft tongue, just the tip of the tongue connecting. So even though this is a balancing pose, we're relaxing into it, breathing, and slowly stepping back to crescent lunge. First, I'm going to invite you to make goal pose. So bring those elbows straight out from the shoulders. Nice radiant hands to your right hip bone back, left hip bone forward. An invitation to dip that left knee a little bit and come up. And if any of this hurts or is causing you to tighten through your neck, etc., it's a great time to ask, what can I change? And then the next time you are up, the leg never has to be straight, by the way. Straighten the arms up if you can, even if it's at a little bit of a V. On your exhale, draw that right hip bone back even more. Now start rotating your body. When your body's rotation's done, open those arms, hug emoji, and briefly look out over that backhand. Inhaling back to center. Exhaling prayer hands. Notice. Jet airplane arms, rotating those palms forward and slowly hinging at the hip. And it can just be a little bit. You do not have to come parallel with the floor, especially if you feel a big pull. Slowly back to neutral. I actually like bringing hands to hips here for stability. So I'm going to open my left foot for warrior two. And I'm going to pause and I'm going to pulse. I'm going to check that my front foot is absolutely straightforward, tracking with the knee. Little adjustment. There you go. You guys are making some beautiful micro adjustments. And then as you're ready, slowly reaching out from the heart, maybe platter hands and maybe rotating to look over that back hand. Maybe center looks just so nice on your neck. You go, oh yeah, this is lovely. Maybe forward. Long inhale, exalted warrior, reaching up. Exhale into your lateral stretch, elbow to thigh, stack that left shoulder back, extending forward towards the wall beyond the head. Remember, if your butt came out behind, it is putting torque on your entire IT band, etc., knee alignment. So make sure to send the hips back towards center. And then we're going to spiral. I love doing this. It's just so many parts of our body. So letting the arm come towards the floor, the chest kind of rotates too. Back, up. And then I'm going to plant the hands, neutral out that back foot, and return to downward facing dog. Pedaling, playing, and at one point, come up on the balls of the feet. Big inhale. Exhale, press the heels towards the floor, and we'll hold there for an entire breath. And where would you like to go from here? Resting pose, holding, or flowing dog series. Inhaling to your plank, knees or feet. I always recommend these for your first dog series of the day. Exhaling chaturanga, make sure those shoulders are down, elbows are in. Slowly lowering the chest to the floor. Hips anchor for either cobra or they raise up, suspended for upward facing dog. Neck is easy. Good. Exhaling either child's pose or downward facing dog. And we're going to meet at the front of the mat. Maybe you want to lunge your way there, hop your way there. Anybody else notice the bunny population is just off the hook this summer? I mean, seriously, we have so many of them. We were just sitting in our hanging chairs at the windows watching. There's like a Cirque du Soleil of bunnies out there. I was like, what is going on? Quite funny. They're amazing to watch. Talk about power and grace. Funny little critters. Find your mountain stance, Tadasana. You know, it is restful here, but it also should feel powerful. We're working, pressing into the earth. You might even be igniting your pelvic floor, for example. So this is not just a body that's kind of relaxed and being held to the floor by gravity. On a long inhale, sweeping slowly out and up, drishti gaze. Is there more? Is there more? Exhaling prayer hands, left knee lift, standing crane. Soft neck, jaw, tongue, and eyes, maybe even a soft smile. And slowly into crescent lunge. First, we're going to find those goalposts. Nice soft neck. So that's one of my challenges, is how to feel powerful through the upper body without like tightening through my neck. Yeah, and exactly. I have to kind of almost weeble wobble it every darn time to check. Take another long inhale, reaching up. Again, a Y is perfectly acceptable. Exhale, draw back through your right hip. Am I going the same way as we went last time?
Yeah.
Like, how did I do that? Oh my God, you guys. All right, switch. Losing my blooming mind, thinking about bunnies. All right, right foot's back, left foot forward. I can just imagine my little Zoom friend was like, yeah, right, all right. Find your goalposts. Inhaling, find your V. Exhaling, rotate your left hip bone back, let your body follow, and then opening those arms, maybe looking out behind you, only if it doesn't bother your neck. Inhaling back to center, per hand, steady yourself, make sure you steered those hip bones, right hip bone forward, nice and neutral, and then jet airplane arms, invitation to reach forward through the crown of the head away from the heel. We are not folding and dropping, we are pushing back and forward. We're a suspension bridge. Then inhaling back up, however you'd like. Maybe hands on hips for stability as you open into your warrior two. Scan front foot knee alignment. Pulse, and then express yourself. And please scan the body for your sense of power and peace. I'm hoping if you kind of push a little on the mat, like you're trying to stretch it, like, and you kind of press a little, like you're trying to bring your feet together, you feel very solid, but it's all your core and lower body doing it, and there's nothing you need to do in your neck to feel stable and ready for what life's bringing. Let's observe just a couple more breaths, rising and settling, and soft neck and tongue. Long inhale and soften warrior, straighten the legs, reaching up. Hope it feels luxurious since we then bend that front knee and settle the elbow. Remember, you're lifting through your waistline, so we're not like sitting on that elbow. Shoulders are anchored, reaching through that top arm. I usually look at the floor here, otherwise my neck complains bitterly at me. And then circling towards the floor and then up. Noticing where those stretches arrive, and when you feel ready, again, nice core support, rotating, plant the hands, come to the ball of the back foot, release that front foot, downward facing dog. And what do you need right now? Is it pulsing? Do you want to take those feet wide in bear pose? Do you want to do another dog series? The world is your yoga oyster. Go for it. Maybe you're in child's pose because that just feels so yummy right now. If you're going into plank, remember to squeeze an imaginary block between your thighs. I sometimes am seeing heels rolling out a little bit. And that will immediately make you feel weak when you're not. You're very strong. You just gotta do that thigh squeeze. Yeah, oh good. We seem to have group consensus that child's pose is the most beautiful place to be in this moment. I couldn't agree more. So I'm going to invite you to once again tune in, third eye point. Lightly connect the tip of the tongue at the roof of the mouth. Perhaps finding your soft Ujjayi breath. I'm going to be moving us into a couple of restorative postures and some pranayama. But this would be a great time if there's anything specific. We're going to be doing the support with the block under the sacral triangle and under the bra strap. If there's anything else like spinal twist that your body might want, if it wants another round of bridge. Finding a powerful posture, if you're motivated that way, at the end of practice can be amazing. So holding bridge pose for 6 or 7 breaths, for example, with yoga mudra, or doing crow pose if that's something you're working on, or even doing a say tree pose, balancing posture. Lovely. We have not done forearm plank today. That's also jet airplane on our belly. Also bow pose, right? There's hundreds of thousands of these poses, but those are some of our favorites that we often do that might feel really good to you right now. And you might be just craving stillness. You're like, I am ready. This would be a good time to gather up whatever you need for breath. block under the sacral triangle or something alternatively like these softer blocks. That I have these kind of fun, they're called zippukos, like it from Hugger Mugger. And I do like how soft they are. You could also gather a blanket if when we do the bra strap one, the block is just too much, having a little blanket that you can kind of roll up is nice. So as you're ready, lift the hips and place the block under that sacral triangle area. We want it right at the top of the crack of the butt, not in the low back vertebra. Vertebrae. Yeah, I love this pose. I should say these poses because with the block under the sacral triangle, there are two distinct shapes that you could be making. One is with the knees bent, and that tends to create kind of a tractioning for the low spine. The other is with the legs draped. And I love both of them are so restorative for that whole center hub of the body that's such a powerhouse, but also takes on so much stress. I love that this pose also says, I'm not accomplishing anything. It's just me and gravity. Letting go, giving in, softening, spreading. Staying here only as long as it feels really good. Do not let it start to gather tension. When you come off, you might want to take a moment to bring knees to belly or some other little counter stretch before then coming up on your forearms, if you will, and being able to place the object of support under the bra strap. So again, having a blanket or even your sweatshirt jacket or something handy you can tuck under your head is very helpful. So we're placing that object under the rib cage. If you feel any kind of lower back pull, you need to find a lower object to have under the bra strap. We are looking for something easeful here. What I call seeking the awe. Anybody would like something brought to them or something we were going. What are you able to notice in terms of stretches? Sometimes here I will experience a stretch right through the diaphragm. It can feel wonderful. Maybe you feel it through the chest. And then as you add our shoulder movement, more information becomes available. Reaching one arm straight up to the sky and then overhead towards the wall behind you, karate chop straight. And then pulsing the arm out, kind of like you're making a quarter of a pie and back into the ear, a quarter of a clock. Yeah, you can release that arm, explore the other. Always very curious, is this side different? How does that mesh with what you might have learned during our tractioning experience? And then reinstituting the shoulder press. So if there's anyone here who would not like me to do the shoulder press, give me a wave. Otherwise, when we do that, it'll be a moment after you start your pranayama and you're no longer on the object of support. When we do that, I will place my hands lightly on your shoulder, just take a nice little inhale. And then as you exhale, I'll compress the shoulders towards the floor and you can then blossom a breath into that. Take your time joining us in corpse pose. Give yourself as many movements as you need to, add a layer, add support if you need something under the knees, for example, that can be marvelous. And then we're going to begin some pranayama practice that to me is one of my favorites for cultivating quiet in systems. So as you're ready on your next exhale, empty the breath and hold out external breath lock. And as we begin to hold out, there's a variety of sensations, little stretches, little tugs and pulls. What we're asking is, can I soften around this? Knowing that you can breathe whenever you want to. You get to play this little game of trying to relax around intensity. And when you do need to breathe, inhale, hold it, internal breath lock. It's up to you how many rounds you'd like to do. You might choose to continue this pranayama practice through to the end of our session. We say that about 10 minutes of focused pranayama or breath work replaces about an hour of lost sleep. Deeply restorative. The minimum, I'd invite you to continue for a couple more minutes. I will chime the bowl when we're at that 3-minute mark. Get curious, where does your body take on the tension of the breath lock? And how easy is it for you to let it go? Slowly expand your breaths. As your awareness begins to gently rise, you're aware of your body, and then lightly aware of the room that you share. There's the broader sense of the flow of life beyond that. Before you re-engage with that flow of life, please take this beautiful, introverted, integrated place you're in to just notice and ask, what is needed? How much am I already in balance? And if balance is needed, to hit pause, to be more restful inside of this high energy doer time, what are some of my personal best tools? We're most happy to play and chat and brainstorm together. But my guess is most of us, we know what to do. We sometimes have to just remember and feel that it's necessary to give it our focus. I am so grateful that you took time on the mat to focus on you. Thank you for your intensity, your playfulness, all of the things. And I hope to see you again soon. Om Shanti, Shanti. Om peace, peace. Namaste. Being in that amazing body of yours. Be good to your heart. We'll see you again soon at the mat. So glad you could be here with me.
Did you do the shoulder press or just right?